Unless these kinds of things are happening in your life, I would say that you don't actually have a right to be depressed. Seriously.
Hello everybody, this is Rabbi Mirski and welcome to the Rabbi Mirski Show.
Many people are depressed these days or terribly anxious. And in fact, the number of people who are depressed is really, really high. It's skyrocketing. And it is, guess what? Politics that often makes people depressed because they believe that this man or that woman in charge will bring a complete calamity and nobody will survive and so on. One of the ways to deal with that is to try to change someone's beliefs. It may be done professionally through the lens of the so-called cognitive therapy. Long story short, the fundamental assumption of cognitive therapy is that you are unhappy because you believe something wrong, not true, or completely nonsensical. And it affects your perception of the world and it makes you unhappy. But I don't want to get into that because it means acknowledging that someone is right and someone else is wrong. And especially in the realm of human beliefs, it's a futile task. So I'm going to focus today on one of the alternatives that actually bypasses the issue of right and wrong. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, he was a great-grandson of the Baal Shem Tov and founder of the Breslov Hasidic movement. He was extremely bright and talented, known for his wisdom and insights since he was a child. He got married young at the age of 13 and faced profound personal tragedies throughout his entire life, including the loss of his wife and most of his children to tuberculosis. 2 sons who died in early childhood and 6 daughters, of whom 2 died in infancy. At the time of his death, at age 38, also from tuberculosis, 4 daughters survived him, along with several grandchildren. So, are you still depressed? Shall I continue? He survived his first wife, Sasha, who died 3 years before him from tuberculosis. Then he got engaged again to another woman, but not married, which is weird because the combined ceremony of Erusin and Nisuin, betrothal, and wedding on one day became customary in the Middle Ages, and it was widespread in the entire Jewish world around the 16th century. So apparently, Rabbi Nachman was so sick, he could not have the whole ceremony at once. Despite that, Rabbi Nachman gave us one of the most optimistic and powerful pieces of wisdom. And songs like Kol ha'olam kulo, gesher tzar me'od, gesher tzar me'od, gesher tzar me'od. The whole world is a very narrow bridge, and the main thing is to have no fear at all. He gave us all of that. Someone who lost 5 of his closest family members during his lifetime, not to mention regular pogroms the Jewish community experienced then in the Eastern Europe and basically everywhere in the world, not to mention general hardships of living in Ukraine back then, which was a part of the Russian Tsarist Empire. Not more than a century later, the Tsar decided to draft people into the Russian army, young men, including Jewish men, for 30 years. You can imagine their families. They were devastated. And around 300,000 of them fought later in the First World War to kill their cousins, their brothers and sisters, who were drafted in the Austro-Hungarian army in similar numbers. This Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, gave us the teaching. I'm going to elaborate now. If you're not impressed with your picture of the world, change the frame. This idea urges us to be selective in our focus, seeking the good, nekudot tevot, in every situation in order to cultivate joy. So by reframing challenges, we can shift our focus from life difficulties into its blessings and find meaning and joy even in the darkest moments. The original teaching of Rabbi Nachman states the following: one must always see the good in everything and not focus on the bad in it, for everything has points of good. And this is a teaching of a rabbi who died at age of 38, lost at least 5 of his family members throughout his short life. So this philosophy definitely isn't about ignoring pain or pretending challenges don't exist. It's a deliberate choice to shift our attention from what's broken to what's whole, from despair to possibility. One of the reasons that makes many people unhappy is that they are focused too much on everything that is bad and negative. And this is a profound challenge for us right now. So, it requires some basic discipline, but I would strongly encourage you to work on your ways to find nekudot tevot, to reframe the picture of your world, because it's good for you and necessary for you to succeed in life. We need to feel good, positive, and motivated to face the reality, to do our work, and to make any difference in our life. It's essential. And this whole philosophy is particularly relevant today because of the overload of information we experience every day. The fact that there is an enormous amount of tragedy and negativity out there makes our choices and our discipline particularly important. Within minutes, we can access a tremendous amount of hate, tragedies, monstrosities, and all kinds of negativity. But where does this leave us? In what place? We need to regularly control what we are exposing ourselves to, more than ever. And frankly, and here is my last point today, and I'm gonna be a little facetious. If you live in a place like Southern California and nothing really bad or tragic is happening in your life, for example, you haven't lost a family member recently, you haven't received a really bad medical diagnosis like cancer, or you're not diagnosed with clinical depression, or you're not an illegal alien that is being deported right now. So unless these kinds of things are happening in your life, I would say that you don't actually have a right to be depressed. Seriously. Well, I'm not saying it should be illegal or something like that, but to be depressed in places like that, like Southern California, Florida, with palm trees and ocean, whatever, where life is generally good and comfortable and pleasant, is not okay. What I'm saying is that in some cases like that, being depressed should be actually considered a form of abuse. Abuse of other people's compassion. I think that would be the right way to frame it. You have a right to be depressed, on the other hand, in some northern countries or state like Norway or Canada because of the weather. Sure, that's legitimate. But other than that, if you're still anxious or depressed, stop abusing other people's compassion and do your work, spiritual work. America is an incredible place to live in. If you don't think so, you either never lived anywhere else or you simply forgot. That's okay. We forget obvious things. And quite a lot of the Torah contains a message like that, about forgetting obvious things. So I'm just reminding you, I just got back from Poland, where I'm originally from, and I can tell you the culture, the nature, the atmosphere, the kind spirit of people here in America, the openness and the open-mindedness and the opportunity. Yes, it may not be as great as it used to be anymore, but still, no comparison with many other places in the world. The next episode will still come out by the end of the week. In the meantime, like, subscribe, even if you don't like it, and see you next time.